My in-laws want to give me their $2 million inheritance instead of their daughter after catching her cheating on me? Nicole and I had been married for a year when her parents Frank and Leah called me over alone. They owned a pharmaceutical empire worth millions, and Nicole was their only child. I genuinely thought maybe they wanted to discuss me joining the family business or something. Instead, Frank slid a manila envelope across their dining room table. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside were dozens of photos of Nicole's car parked outside an apartment complex I didn't recognize. Same spot, different nights, always timestamped between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. on days when she told me she was working late. "We hired a private investigator," Leah said, her voice breaking. "We're so sorry." The guy was 21 years old, fresh out of college. Nicole was his direct supervisor in the recruitment department. She'd been sneaking to his place 3 to 4 times a week for the past 3 months. They had surveillance footage of her going in and not coming out for hours. I grew up in a cold house where my parents stayed together for my sake, but made each other miserable. Meeting Nicole's family felt like finding a real home for the first time. Sunday dinners weren't obligations. They were something I actually looked forward to. Frank taught me to golf. Leah and I would cook together. Nicole used to joke that I was the son they never had. I broke down right there at their dining table. Completely fell apart. They both held me while I sobbed like a child. Frank kept saying, "This isn't your fault," and Leah kept apologizing even though she'd done nothing wrong. That night, I couldn't face going home to our apartment, so they insisted I stay in their guest room. I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, replaying every recent memory, looking for signs I'd missed. All those nights she came home smelling like unfamiliar cologne, how she'd started keeping her phone face down, the way she'd flinch when I tried to hug her from behind. The next morning, I went home before Nicole left for work. I hadn't answered any of her calls or texts from the night before, so she seemed genuinely worried when I walked in. I sat her down at our kitchen table and just asked her directly about the affair. She hesitated, tried to deny it. So I pulled out the photos her parents had given me. Her face went completely white. Then she tried to minimize it, saying they were just friends hanging out and there was nothing going on. But when I asked why she'd lied about where she was, she had no answer. Finally, she admitted everything, said she'd been sleeping with him for months, and then she said the words that destroyed me. I was just bored. It didn't mean anything. That made it so much worse. She destroyed our marriage, betrayed her parents' trust, risked her entire career over something that didn't mean anything. I completely lost it. Started screaming at her about how I'd trusted her, how I'd built my entire life around her, how her parents treated me better than my own family ever did. She was sobbing on the floor with her head in her hands while I stood over her yelling. It was ugly, the kind of fight you can't come back from. I told her I wanted her out of the house. She refused, said we could work through this, and begged for another chance, but I couldn't even look at her anymore. So I left instead. Just got in my car and drove until I was almost out of gas, then checked into the first hotel I found. That was 3 weeks ago. I filed for divorce after mulling it over for 3 days. My own parents were useless when I told them. Just gave me generic do what feels right advice and didn't even try to comfort me. But Frank and Leah checked on me every single day, sent me food, made sure I was okay. Nicole kept texting and calling, but I muted her notifications and never read a single message. Yesterday, Frank and Leah asked me to meet them at their lawyer's office. I thought maybe it was about the divorce, character witness statements or something. Instead, their estate attorney pulled out a revised will. They were cutting Nicole out completely and leaving their entire inheritance to me. The lawyer said it's worth approximately $2 million, not counting the business shares. "You've been more of a son to us than she's been a daughter," Frank said, his voice steady. "This is what loyalty deserves." Leah was crying. "We raised her better than this. You don't deserve what she did to you. The paperwork is already drawn up. All I have to do is sign." Nicole found out this morning. She called me 67 times in 2 hours. Then her texts started coming through. Angry ones, desperate ones, saying I'm manipulating her parents and stealing her inheritance. Her parents won't take her calls anymore. My lawyer says it's completely legal and there's nothing she can do about it.